There are houses in America that carry stories, stories that don't fade with time, stories that stay long after the people who experience them are gone, places where something happened, something that was never fully understood. This is one of those stories. The Perron family haunting. A true American case that would later inspire one of the most famous horror films ever made. But long before the cameras, the actors, and the movie, there was a real family. And what they experienced was far more unsettling than anything shown on screen. The story begins in the early 1970s. A family of 7 moved into a farmhouse in Harrisville, Rhode Island. A quiet place, surrounded by land, isolated, peaceful. At least, that's how it appeared. The Perron family was excited. A new home, a fresh start. Nothing seemed unusual about the house. It was old, yes, but nothing that would raise concern. They unpacked, settled in, started building their new life. But it didn't take long for things to feel off. At first, it was small, easy to ignore. Objects moving slightly out of place. Doors opening when no one was near them. Strange sounds in the house at night. Footsteps, soft, slow, coming from rooms that were supposed to be empty. They tried to explain it. Old house noises, wind, settling wood. But the sounds continued, and they became more frequent, more noticeable. Then came the feeling, that constant awareness, that something was there, watching, even when nothing could be seen. The children began to notice it too. Whispers in the dark, shadows moving where nothing should move. They would wake up in the middle of the night, feeling like they weren't alone. And sometimes they weren't, because the sightings began. Figures, standing in doorways, watching from corners, appearing briefly and then disappearing. Some of them looked harmless, almost human, but others did not. The energy in the house was not consistent. It changed. Some days felt quiet, almost normal. Other days felt heavy, oppressive, like the house itself had a presence. And then they learned about the land, the history of the property, and what had happened there long before they arrived. Because the house wasn't just old. It was built on land with a past filled with tragedy, stories of deaths, unexplained events, and one name that would come up again and again, Bathsheba, a woman believed to have lived on that land in the 1800s. According to local stories, she was accused of something dark, something involving a child. Though nothing was ever proven, the accusations remained. And over time, her name became connected to something far more disturbing, because the Perron family believed she was still there, watching, waiting, and not everyone in the house was affected the same way. It seemed like something was focusing on one person, the mother, Carolyn Perron. She began to experience the activity more intensely than anyone else. Strange smells would appear around her, objects would move near her, and sometimes she would feel something touch her, something unseen, but real. As time passed, the activity became more aggressive, more direct, no longer subtle, no longer something that could be ignored. There were moments when the house felt completely out of control, like whatever was inside it was no longer hiding. That's when the family realized they couldn't handle it alone. They needed help, and that's when they reached out to 2 people who had dealt with cases like this before. Ed and Lorraine Warren. The Warrens were known for investigating paranormal activity, cases that others couldn't explain. They visited the house, spoke to the family, observed the environment, and what they found only made things more unsettling. They believed the house was not just haunted, but occupied by multiple entities, different presences, different energies, some harmless, some not, and one in particular was believed to be something darker, something that didn't want the family there, something that saw them as intruders. The Warrens attempted to understand it, to communicate, to uncover what was happening. But during one of their sessions, something went wrong. The atmosphere changed, the energy shifted, and what followed left everyone shaken. The reaction was intense, unpredictable, almost violent. The Warrens realized that whatever they were dealing with was not something simple, not something easy to control. And after that, they stepped back because even they understood there are some things you don't push too far. But the Perron family still lived there, still experienced it. Day after day, night after night, they had no choice but to continue living in a house that no longer felt like their own. Years passed, and eventually they left, but the story didn't end there, because what they experienced stayed with them, and the house remained. The story of the Perron family became widely known, shared, discussed, debated. Some believe it was real, that everything they described actually happened. Others believe it was something else. Stress, fear, the power of suggestion. But one thing remains certain. The experiences they described follow a pattern seen in many other cases. A presence, an escalation, a shift from subtle to aggressive, and a feeling that something is aware of who you are, where you are, and why you're there. Today, the house still stands. Quiet, still. From the outside, it looks like any other home. But inside, the story remains. Because some places don't forget. Some places don't let go. And some stories don't end when people leave. They just wait for someone else to come in and experience them all over again.